Welcome to what I'm going to combine as Chapter 3 and 4, Selection Decisions and Personnel Law. So I'm going to do it a little out of order because it to me makes more sense to talk about employee selection, recruiting, interviewing first, and then talk about some of the legal issues in employee selection. So I'm going a little out of order of your textbook. All right, let's get started. So let's start with employee selection, recruiting, and interviewing, which is Chapter 4. All right, so what we're going to learn in Chapter 4 is about how to recruit applicants, how to understand why the unstructured interview doesn't work very well, how to construct valid structured interview questions, how you can perform well when being interviewed, and then how to write a resume and a cover letter. In Chapter 3, you will learn about the legal process involving employment law, and you'll be able to identify what classes of people are protected by federal law. You'll be able to determine the legality of an employment practice, explain the concept of adverse impact, define affirmative action, and describe the important issues involving employee privacy rights. All right, that's a lot to cover, so let's jump in. Let's talk about recruitment. So recruitment is defined as the process of encouraging potentially qualified applicants to seek employment with a particular organization. This is probably the toughest job for any organization, is to get the news out that they're hiring in a place where people who are qualified would know that the job is available. The quality or the efficiency of a selection system is going to be limited by the applicant quality, right? If we're not getting good applicants, it's going to be really difficult to make a decision among what we do have to choose from. And if we're only recruiting overqualified applicants, that's also a problem. So we want to make sure that we're recruiting the types of people that would be appropriate for the job. The traditional methods of recruitment have been college placement offices, such as career services, newspaper ads, they used to have those, employee referrals. Still very common way to recruit employees is from what we call incumbents, right, from our previous chapters, people who are already in the job telling their friends, hey, they're hiring at work, you should come down and apply. Job fairs, still a really popular place, but a lot of times job fairs favor larger organizations because smaller organizations don't have the resources necessarily to attend job fairs. They maybe don't have enough people in the organization to attend an all-day job fair and still keep the organization running. And so that can be sort of unfair or difficult for them. And then internet ads have become super common. You might see those pop up sometimes on your Google search that some organization is hiring. That'll just pop up, as one of those ads on the internet. So there are other methods. Media advertisements, putting ads in the newspaper. Again, people don't read the newspaper very much, but if you're going after a particular demographic, maybe they're the sorts who read the newspaper still. Electronic media of all different sorts having to do with the internet or texting, or people do blasts of emails, things like that. Point of purchase is a really good place to let people know that this place where they already do business might be hiring. Maybe hire a recruiter, hire people that go to college campuses or go to other organizations. That's a really common sort of headhunter approach. Hire a recruiter who goes to other organizations and identifies people who are in these jobs and tell them, hey, we've got a better job for you at this other organization. Employment agencies and search firms, a lot of times people will sign up with an employment agency to help them find a job, and that agency does a good job of putting people together. Sometimes the employment agency is a governmental entity where maybe it's the unemployment office. There can be, if you're looking for an executive, it might be really wise for the organization to hook up with or employ an executive search firm that will help them find a qualified executive. And then, public employment agencies of different sorts are available. Employee referrals, I've already mentioned that. And then direct mail, you might have gotten little flyers that somebody is hiring. A lot of times, again, this favors larger organizations that have the resources to have a mass mailing, but directly mailing somebody that, we're looking for. I saw one recently where they were looking for electricians. And actually there's, I should have included bulletin boards on this list, because I know that in Cheney there's a billboard right now that is, the airport is looking for the police that work at the airport, and they're inviting people who are already police officers somewhere else to sort of lateral over and work at the airport. And so billboards can be another way if you're really looking for, usually if you're looking for more applicants, that's a good way to go, because you want to get the word out across a lot of people. All right, so some recent trends in recruits. One of the things that's important to keep in mind as an organization is what recruits are considering as important to them. What would they be looking for in an employer? And so a lot of times recruits say that they're considering the organization's reputation and values. So you'll notice that career development and progression is the number one most, is more than image of employer, but image of employer is right there. They're like, yes, I want to get ahead and I want to develop my career and I want to, start getting my foot in the door and whatever, but I don't necessarily want to work for an employer that doesn't fit my image or doesn't suit what I want. You'll also notice that the number one, the absolute runaway number one criterion is location. A lot of times people don't want to have to move, or they want to move to a particular place or something like that. Way down below is salary, whether the job is challenging, the people who are already working there. Way down below would be those things. So certainly location, number one, career development and progression, but image of employer is an important factor. I mean, that's way more important than salary for a lot of applicants. And then the person environment fit, whether, the person, the recruit feels like the knowledge, skills, abilities, other qualities that they possess are going to match what is needed by the job, whether their own, like in that others category, their own value system, how they see themselves and what kind of organization they'd like to be aligned with matches this organization. And for some applicants, they're very interested in like the diversity of the community surrounding the organization. Some people would want to work in one city over another, or a small city versus a large city, something like that, based on their concerns about diversity. And whether there are individual differences represented in the organization are factors that might be of consideration for some applicants. So this is a survey that was conducted on basically we'll call it 9,000 employees. So they were all employed already. These are people who had jobs, and they were asked what kind of benefit would motivate you to switch jobs. In this survey, being able to work remotely was number one. Having a shorter work week and flexible working hours came in second, basically. They're very close. And then 100% healthcare, unlimited vacation time. That's a pretty funny one. I mean, what do you mean by that? Having a 401k, stock options, or equity and childcare support were much farther behind. So these are things that maybe would lure already employed, maybe in the same field, and would work well for the organization. These are the kinds of things that might lure them to change jobs. Now, this is a sort of a drill down by age on those same. So you'll notice along the y-axis we have the same things that we had on the previous slide, but now the bars are broken down by age. And so you'll notice that working remotely is really most attractive to people who are 25 to 44. It's attractive to, it looks like basically everybody, but most attractive to 25 to 44-year-olds. Now, why would that be? Well, 25 to 44 developmentally is a period of time when we're most likely to maybe have children, have responsibilities at home that would be pulling us in multiple directions with regard to work. And I think that's the same reason why that same age group is the ones that are the most interested in a shorter work week. The under 25 are the most interested in the flexible working hours. Now, of course, the 25 to 44-year-olds also, but I mean not to the degree that the under 25s are. The healthcare, very interesting to the people who are over 65, right? And then closely followed by the 45 to 64-year-olds. So older people are more interested in healthcare. Everybody seems to like the unlimited vacation time to the same degree. I guess maybe the 25 to 44-year-olds are the least interested, maybe because, hey, I'm trapped here anyway. My kids are in school and I only get the weeks they have off. I don't know. So we can guess about some of these things. But I mean, developmentally, you can kind of see why certain age groups might have certain needs for maintaining work-life balance, right? Now, same thing, same source, everything, everything's the same, but now we broke it down by sex. And you see that remote working is more popular among females than males. And again, I'm going to throw in, having kids. Females on average are more likely to be the ones who take care of the responsibilities having to do with children. A lot of times taking them to school or picking them up, taking them to doctor's appointments. If you have little kids, females tend to be the ones who stay home. About 20% of dads are the full-time stay-at-homes. About 80% when there's a full-time stay-at-home, it's the female. And so females are going to be a little bit more interested because maybe I could go back to work if I could do it remotely, right? And so the shorter working week is a little bit more attractive to the male respondents. The flexible hours, everything else looks pretty close between males and females until we get down to stock options or equities. And males are a lot more interested in that. So by sex and age, we can kind of see different kinds of motivations. If we broke this down by sex and age, we would have, a lot of bars, but we maybe could drill down what kinds of employees tend to want what kinds of things. So let's say that we've got some recruits in front of us. How do we select among them? Well, let's go ahead and pick that up in the next video.